Hello everyone, my name is Gifty and welcome to my YouTube channel, The Dare's Delight. On today's episode, I'm going to show you how I make my authentic Ghanaian chicken stew, meaning akoko froye, wall flour. That's what we are going to do today. I'm using hard chicken for this recipe. You can choose to use soft chicken as well. And I'm going to show you in a different video how I make my chicken. And here I have some ginger mix. I also have a recipe on my ginger mix which I'm going to link it down in the description below. I used about 4 tablespoons of ginger mix and I'm using 1 stick of fresh rosemary. You can choose to use the dry ones as well. I love using rosemary. It has this intense flavor and aroma to your meat and you need to use it when you're cooking. I also added some whole cloves as well. You can choose to use the powdered one or you can choose not to add to your food as well. I also added star anise. I love using star anise in my cooking. It helps to improve digestion and also helps to regulate blood sugar levels. I love using it. You need to use star anise in your cooking. And I also added some turmeric, 2 teaspoons of turmeric. I love using turmeric in my cooking. It prevents heart diseases and cancer and also gives your chicken a very nice yellow color to it. You can also use curry powder if you don't have turmeric. And here I added some Maggi seasoning. You can choose to use any seasoning of your choice. And I'm going to show you how I prep my chicken. I always smoke my chicken on the grill before I cut them. Before I use it, I do it the Ghana way, what to turn on it also gives it that nice flavor to your chicken. I'm adding about 2 teaspoons of salt and that is going to season the meat for it. I don't like putting too much salt in my seasoning because I'm going to season the stew after all. And now I'm going to stir everything together to make sure all the seasoning goes all over the chicken. Making sure say seasoning ebe konam no mu na nam no ho ayed ebe ben na ho ayed de bona no ninchon e ba ngon papa. This is what we are looking for. So I'm going to leave the meat to season for about 35 minutes before I cook it. So here I'm going to start with my tomato blend mix for my stew. And I added about 2 cloves of garlic and a thumb size of ginger and green chilies, about 3 green chilies and a half of scotch bonnet. You can use more scotch bonnet if you want it more spicy. I don't like it more spicy, so I just added a bit of half scotch bonnet. I also use 2 medium onion. You can add more onions if you love onions. You can choose not to add any if you don't like too much onion in your stew. I also added some carrots. I used about 3 medium carrots. I love using carrots in my tomato blend. It gives it that sweet taste. And we have to eat our vegetables. So that's another trick that I use to add to my tomato blend, to add vegetables to my stews. And you never regret using carrots in your tomato blend. I'm telling you, it's a very good way to add vegetables to your blend. You can add more carrots as well. You can add spring onion if you have any. And here I'm adding some chopped tomatoes. I'm using 2 cans of chopped tomatoes. You can use plum tomatoes. You can also use fresh tomatoes if you want. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm telling you, you will never regret using this carrot in your tomato blend. So we're going to blend everything together to get a very nice smooth. You want it to be nice and smooth like that. And I'm going to add some bay leaves. I love using bay leaves as well. It gives it that aromatic flavor to your tomatoes. And I have a secret here. I use a little bit of baking soda. I don't have access to Kenwood in London, so I tend to use baking soda. It gives it that dark rich color as well. And I tend to use that in all my tomato base as well. And I'm going to simmer this to make it half size, to make it thicken and dry. We don't want any water in it, so I'm going to stir everything together and simmer it to get this half pot of tomatoes before we can add it to our stew. I'm going to set it aside on a low heat to cook to make it more nice. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Our chicken has been cooking for about 35 to 40 minutes now. And look at that. It looks so tender and juicy. And I mean why so we're going to separate the stock from the chicken. We're going to keep the stock We're going to add it to our tomato stew later on. If you don't want to put it in your stew, you can also use it later on for your fried rice, and also add it to your jollof rice stock, which is very nice. It has so much flavor in it, and I'm telling you, you need to try this recipe for me. De papa tomato stew, de ankasa. You're frying our chicken now, and I'm using the same pots to fry the chicken, and I'm going to use the same pot for our stew. And I'm using sunflower oil. You can use any oil of your choice, and make sure your chicken is golden brown outside and juicy inside. And make sure you're cooking on the medium heat, not too high. We don't want our chicken to burn because you're going to use the same oil for our stew. We don't want that burn flavor in our stew, you know. Pesa cocoa stew, no pesa yede. You need to fry your chicken. You can choose not to fry your chicken. You can put it in the grill. You can choose not to put it in any grill. You can use it like that. And this is what I'm talking about. That nice caramel brown color from the chicken. Ghana cocoa froye de one chinam na I say 1 year froye na so what I say. This is what we are talking about. You need to fry the chicken and get that extra flavor to your stew. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and please tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe to my channel, and please share my videos. I'm telling you, you need to try this recipe for me. And that's the second batch of the chicken. We're going to fry it the same way. Make sure it's golden brown outside and juicy inside. So I'm going to tell you what to do. Please don't put the fire on a high heat. We don't want that burnt flavor. It's very important for me. Look at that. Our chicken looks golden outside and juicy inside. I'm telling you, you need to try this recipe. And look, our tomato blend has been simmering away, and that's what we are looking for. Very nice thick tomato. And I'm telling you, this makes the stew very quick. And now we're going to start with our tomato stew. And I'm going to use the same oil. You don't need to sieve anything out because everything gives the stew more flavor. I'm telling you, you're going to taste the stew and you'll be like, wow, this stew is delicious. So I used about 2 medium onions. You can use more onions as you want. You can also blend your onions if you don't want to see any onions in your stew. So we're going to cook it for about 2 to 3 minutes. And I'm telling you, for a bear de papa, floor a bang, I'm telling you. And I also added my ginger mix. You can choose not to add your ginger mix because you added it in the stock. I used about 2 tablespoons of ginger mix in my onion. I'm going to cook it for about 2 minutes. And I added a teaspoon of curry powder at this stage. It gives you extra aroma to the stew. And I'm using about 100 grams of tomato paste. I'm telling you, this stew there, a bear dan kasa. You're gonna mix it together. I added a bit of water to my tomato paste to make it mix easily. So we're gonna stir everything together and make sure it's cooked really good and nice because you don't want that canned flavor from the tomato paste. So we're gonna cook it for about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm telling you, this stew dear, a bear dan kasa. You need to try this recipe. So look at that. It's been cooking for about 10 to 15 minutes now, and look at that rich color. You can see my tomato paste is looking very good. And now this is what we are looking for. I'm telling you, you need to try this recipe. So keep stirring and make sure you're cooking on the low heat, not on a high heat, because we don't want any burnt flavor in our sauce. And look at our tomato blend, that thick rich color. You see the soda has given that dark rich color that we are looking for. So I'm gonna stir everything together and make sure it's nicely put together. And make sure you stir your tomato sauce more regularly. We don't want any burnt bottoms because it makes our tomato stew very bitter. Our tomato stew has been cooking for about 10 minutes now. You can see that extra oil. Season it with some Maggi cubes, about 2 of it, and a teaspoon of thyme. You're mixing everything together. You stir it gradually to make sure everything is mixed together. And please cook on a low heat, not on a high heat, because we don't want any burn bottom on our chicken stew. It gives the stew a very bitter taste. And look at that, our stew has been cooking for about 10 minutes now. You can see that extra oil on the surface. And look at that. Now you're going to add our chicken. You make sure your chicken is covered in the tomato sauce to give it that depth of flavor in the chicken. And now you're going to add our chicken stock. At this time, you really need to add your chicken stock because we want the tomato to cook before we add our chicken stock to give it more flavor to the chicken, and the stew. I'm telling you, this chicken stew is taking you to heaven. I mean, is another level. You need to try this chicken stew. You're going to stir everything together and leave it to cook for a while to get that extra oil on the surface. I'm telling you, please don't forget to press the notification button and please don't forget to like my videos. I just added some curry powder, a teaspoon of it, to give it extra flavor to our tomato sauce. And I added some fresh nutmeg. You need fresh nutmeg in your Ghana chicken stew. It gives you extra aroma and extra flavor to your stew. So we're going to leave it to cook, and this stew has been cooking for about 10 minutes now. Look at that extra oil. You know what I'm talking about. I added some fresh onions and some green chilies, and I added some akokomesa, meaning fresh basil. Akokomesa is how we say it in Ghana. You need to add that to your stew. It's very good for you. I always love using basil in my tomato-based sauces. You need to try. It helps liver function and also good for digestion. You always need to use basil in your cooking. And look at that, our tomato stew is ready. If you've seen that extra oil, we're going to skim it off and you're going to use it for extra gari photo. You can also keep it and use it for your jollof sauce. I'm telling you, this sauce goes with everything. Kenke, rice, yam, and I'm having this with rice. Thank you for watching this video, and please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Bye bye.